First of all, good morning, or maybe good afternoon, all of us. And I was surprised she discounted me, but I think that was a surprise. And then the surprise is keeping me still young, taking that picture from the WhatsApp and putting it up. So I'm still better than you guys looking at it. So with that, we'll start our discussion today. And I was listening to what we were hearing about technology, about how we can impact for MSMEs. And this topic today is on HR and future technology. We'll be spending some time among ourselves, and we'll see. We touch upon those areas which get challenged, which have their own consequences in terms of getting resolutions, either through process or through policies or guidelines, and how can technology help that. And we have three gentlemen who have around 75-80 years of experience altogether, and I'll be honored to question you right, and understand how we can help the audience here in terms of the challenges all of us would have faced, how we can address those challenges through technology, and how our knowledge sharing can help them and we participate in their success. Right. So the flow would be, we'll be having a discussion among ourselves. We'll have, say, around 30-35 minutes of a discussion. Post that, we'll ask you some questions. So just to check you have not slept, because lunch is coming in. So we'll keep you awake. And we'll have some participation from you. But at the end, tab tak floor hamara, we'll speak. Right? I'll just twist a bit so I can see the faces. And please allow me to use my mobile with age, gray cells are depleting. So I have done my homework. I have prepared question paper for you. Meanwhile, in case anyone has any question in between, we are okay to address those questions. Preferably, keep them for the last. Not that we are not keen, but it will help us. That was. We ready, sir?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, question number 1, Mustafa sir. How technology, since we are speaking technology, and HR can be used for preparing future workforce. And when we say future workforce, it does not mean those who are going to join. It is current employment, it is the Gen Z or whatever millennials we are hiring and still having with us. And also, how do we manage their existing capabilities and manage the upcoming workforce? Over here.
Thanks, Manish. Good afternoon, everyone. This question which is there is a very interesting one, and why this is there, because today every HR, whether it's a small company, MSME or a large organization, they face a lot of these challenges right now. Because as the earlier panelist said, digital transformation, we are not just upgrading, we are transforming into a different era where it is just not, there is a generational gap right now within the entrepreneurs. We have startups by entrepreneurs at the age of 14, 15. Just now I was reading something that there are 14 years laborers who were working as laborers, they started a startup in Bihar and they are successful. So when these mentality people come, when the use of technology comes in, it is changing day by day. With ChatGPT or all the other technology. So how as an HR, where traditionally we used to take care of the attendance, the recruitment, how these things are changing fast. And with the growing, the change of lifestyle and change of skills that are coming up, and the Gen Zs that are coming up right now with so much of AI learning and so many other tools coming, data available, how we can use as an organization, use data or technology in upskilling them or reskilling the current skill set that is there. That is very important, and that's where technology we need to use. Second thing, initially when we used to do performance management or do succession planning or you to try to identify the skill sets, they were manual processes. But today there are so many softwares available where it actually helps you to identify those things, and you can prepare your workforce for tomorrow. You know what is your tomorrow's skill set requirements are there, what the business requirement is there. So whether my workforce is ready for that or not. For that today technology is there. With technology we can identify those gaps, and by With today, there are so many learning modules like AI is there, or online modules are there. How we can integrate those things in our organization, and the learning modules or the LMS system which we create, how we integrate those things and use the technology. As the other panelists said, that Microsoft Copilot, wonderful thing. You just put certain data in that, and it gets the world's data for you. So how, as an organization, we can use such technologies where learning can become easy. And because in today's Gen Z is so tech savvy, we also understand that these Gen Zs or the young coming generations is so data oriented or so technology oriented, which we were not there earlier, because we didn't have that free data access, but today they have. So they are well aware about what's there, and the new thing which are development happening, the organization just cannot say that we focus on building machineries or the technology, or we can just focus on building our own marketing expenses. Today manpower has become more important. That's where we have to use such technologies to develop and upgrade ourselves. So I would cut short over here that why, because technology as an organization philosophy and management philosophy has to use technology in terms of investing in manpower through all the various learning modules which are there.
Thanks, Mustafa. And it's heartening to know that companies and leadership, more importantly, because we are speaking MSMEs and all sort of organizations which stay in a certain prism, the cost plays a very important role. Right? So the cost and the ROI, return on investment part. So thanks, you touched upon Gen Z, and you touched upon LMS and how you can enhance existing workforce, their capabilities towards future aspects. One thing is interesting, and with that I'll go to Ramakant ji, that you said there are a lot of softwares available, solutions available, which can help you to assess future workforce. But before that, you have to also assess what your future capabilities need, right? So with that, who better than Ramakant, who was driving a marriage of HR and technology. So sir, over to you. And the question for you is, how technology is relevant for HR processes and importance of HR digitalization. And when I say importance, it's not about you automate a process or certain things. We have to be more careful about futuristic capabilities, and we have to be finding or giving solutions how we can address those things. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Manish, and very good afternoon, everyone. Great to see such a nice participation. Thanks, Arvind ji, also for giving us an opportunity, and very pleased to be part of this, topic and discussion. So, Manish ji has mentioned rightly, digitalization or technological enhancement for every organization is extremely key factor. As we know, the most key asset for every organization is resources, and the growth of organization is very much dependent on sustainable resources. So when we discuss about this, who is managing the resources in the organization? It's HR department. So one of the key function of the organization is HR. And those days are gone when we used to do our manual HR processes, too old method kind of. Then it was moved to Excel type of management. Again, it requires a lot of manual intervention. So today's time, in fact, it is already since last many years most popular digitalization of HR processes through HRMS platform. And I will definitely advise or kind of try to insist all the MSMEs and all the organizations to make sure that this important function of the organization must be managed through digital software or HRMS software. Because what we are observing now, the topic is to be having sustainable resources, which is most important, because every organization spend quite of time and energy and cost to identify good resources, and to sustain them or retain them in the organization itself is a big ask or big challenge. So when we as Mr. Mustafa quietly highlighted the Gen Z situation, since post-COVID we are observing quite challenges to hire good resources and make retain them. what this generation is currently, little bit, we can easily say it is unstable, but not very unstable, we should call it as. They also have some expectations from the organization. As we have expectations from the good employees, employees will also have expectations, and the minimum expectations are to maintain good atmosphere in the organization, very professional atmosphere, and maintain a uniform approach, or we can say unbiased approach in terms of HR processes. Because see how the employees are managed. All the employees are managed to specific HR policies. And when we were doing all the implementation of policies, may it be attendance policy, attendance management or leave management, when we were doing it manually, of course it cannot be perfect when it is being done manually. And there are some grey areas, knowingly or unknowingly. Some employees may feel this employee is being favored, some considerations are given to this employee, etc., etc. All this kind of negativities or restlessness can be totally erased when we do complete HR process management through the HRMS software. And this is completely automation of the HR process. No one can change the rules as it is, because there is a log of every entry, and transparency in the organization is very much advisable, most needed to have healthy working environment, and which is a key success or key factor for retaining the employees. So as we see the business growth, we have to see the employee satisfaction in a valid and right way. Okay, so that is why I would suggest that HRMS platforms, human resource management system service platforms, are very much important. These are not at all expensive. Today's time everything is cloud-based applications. So it is strongly recommended for all the organizations to have employees sustainable employees program. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kanji. I made notes on certain keywords you used, and Mandar, I'll come to you with that. Critical resources and sustainable resources, and more importantly, identify good resources. And of course, software and atmosphere, uniform policies and all. So before we go there, I think there's an important aspect of training, development, existing resources, and that's where I would like to take your thoughts. When we say of development, what exactly are we talking about in terms of MSME space? Because again, the cost factor comes in play, the impact of training comes in play, kind of time spent because resources are away from the action. All those aspects come to the picture. So how can a company who's into this kind of a space should identify training needs and ensure proper training to enhance employee effectiveness? That's where I'd like to pick your thoughts.
Hello. Yeah, I hope you all are able to hear me. As Ramakanji had rightly said, human resources are the resources that are going to manage most of the resources in the organization. And to bring about change, bring about transformation, what is important is having quality in human resource as well as quality of resources. So when we talk about quality of human resources, this is where existing resource quality and the resources that we are going to hire from the market, their quality both will matter. For existing resources, what we need to do is identify training needs, because these training needs are going to tell us how we develop resources in order to achieve the change that we want. And when it comes to hiring new resources, this is where the expectation from the management has to be very clear as to what is it that we are looking for. Because if that is not clear, then there obviously is going to be a gap between what is required and what is being hired. And that gap cannot be breached once the person is on board. Here what I would like to say is there are three types of skills basically required from every human resource. One is technical skill. When we talk about technical skill, it is about how you do the job. Second is conceptual skill, so which is understanding the operations, understanding the business as it is. And third is communication skill. If these three skills are looked at adequately depending on the position that the resource is going to work on, that will add value. If there is a skill mismatch, that can be covered in training. But having basic skills is very important because those cannot be acquired. So from digital transformation perspective also, it is very imperative that we ensure that we are identifying people with right skills and right skills for the job. Otherwise, it will be a Herculean task to bridge the skill gap.
I'll just add one point over here, which already I think Ramakantji has mentioned earlier, like about the cost effect. Because I also worked in an MSME, in a small organization, where always the budget for an HR is always a challenge. And with that limited budget, we have to do everything. But today's time, there is so many softwares and tools available, and they are so cost effective. I've been using this Great HR and this payroll software. There are so many modules. Similar, there are so many other company competitors which are there. They are giving you so many features and services at a very reasonable cost, which now the MSMEs or the small organizations can actually, it's in their pockets, it's in their budgets. Earlier it was not the case. Earlier it was only a big ERP, only the big companies used to do it, like SMEs and all. But right now there are so many technologies, so many companies which are giving these services at a very reasonable rate. And when you're growing as an organization, if you have these things in place right at the beginning, so once you scale up, then you can scale up in a much exponential way and in a coordinated, directed way where all the departments work together. So I think that's one challenge which I think with this technology coming in, the cost also of this technology has gone down at least for the user at the customer level.
Thanks, Mustafa. Thanks for adding that. Andaru let off very quickly. Next question will be harder for you and lengthier one. But that reminds me two things. So one is today we are going through a problem of plenty actually. Earlier it used to be say Oracle or a SAP or these kind of tools, but now you can see plethora of options available and choice is with the customer. Like Mustafa said, Great HR has been a good solution provider and there are so many others. Evaluation becomes a challenge. That's what we will be discussing in some time. What are the key parameters which you should define while you are analyzing or evaluating a solution? So coming back to you, Mustafa, with one more question for you is importance of culture. Now, that's something which Mandar just touched upon, the behavioral or the softer aspects of personality when we are an employee. So how do you think the culture becomes important in an SME space? It is important in larger organizations, no doubt. But do you really think that culture or uniformity, one of the words used, presence of policies, because I have seen in certain places where they do not make deliberately the policies, how these things are important and how they can help, if at all?
It is one of the most important aspects. I'll tell you the reason is, whether it's a large organization or a MSME or any micro, ultimately it is run by people. And especially in a small organization, they are more people oriented because they don't have much of processes, standard process, because they have more of the personal touch, because the amount of the people headcount is less. So that personal touch with the proprietor or with the owners or the co-founders is there, like in any startup. But once that startup, becomes a unicorn and they reach to a level, then that engagement level goes on. Because initially, the value system, if I am a co-founder or I am a startup, I know what value system I have bought and what the way I want to work with. And those principles everybody is following. But when I'm growing, the scale is happening, then the engagement level with my down the line is reduced. Then what happened, that disengagement leads to a lot many, because you start adding layers into the organization, you start adding mid management. But then that's where the culture comes, because then what happens in large organizations, the culture is not set. Those all the what you call the office politics or toxic culture, because of the generational gap as well, those things come into picture. That's the reason why here the anchor role has to be played by the top management or the people who are the founder. What value system they have to build in. And that's where the culture is important, so that when they grow as well, certain level of those value system is there in their blood, in the DNA, which should reflect in their business operations as well. That is more important, and that's where they can use certain part of technology as well, training as well, because here the employee engagement activities or their user experience comes into picture. So we can use these technologies as well, so that that value system is still intact and remains within the system.
Thanks, Mustafa. A lot of important points you have touched upon. First is, which is more dangerous, toxicity. And it comes more when there is no clarity, ambiguity. Then you spoke of when it's a less headcount organization, employers or owners, they stay connected to the people, connected to the workforces, because they have hired them either personally or they have been involved in their entire cycle. So that's where, as we add on hierarchies, that's where the visibility of owners dilutes, and then the middle layer starts giving their own kind of things, which is where the culture gets diluted or distorted to certain extent. So with that we come to you, Ramakanji, once again on the same topic, that how do you think that bringing in and maintaining a transparent culture can help us as an organization, as a function, towards higher efficiency, and it's more towards employees rather than owners, more from employees' perspective?
Right. So, as we discussed about the importance of HRMS tool as a part of digitalizing the HR process, this is also very important again from the employer perspective and employee perspective as well. Because in today's situation, all organizations, particularly we say startups or MSMEs, there are two important or two pressures on the management. One is of course business growth. Second is the compliances side, because in a good way, government and Ministry of Finance have been very, very strict in implementing all the compliances and monitoring if the organizations are following that or not. Because government is also rightly looking at all the compliances from the employee perspective, as well as having all the process digitalized, that means the transparency in the process and the culture. So when we are talking about the tool or digitalization of HR process, again it helps to maintain completely accurate data. These platforms are very popular nowadays to use for the payroll processing, because what employees are expecting, again, a very accurate and timely remunerations what they have been agreed by the management. So these HRMS platforms are most accurate in processing the salaries, in processing the compliances. So the employees remains very stress-free whether my compliances will be challenged in future. Such type of stress will not be there. It will be well taken care by the software. Employees, because of the digital tool, will able to have the access on the mobile app, so that they can download the pay slips, Form 16, etc., upload the investment proofs. Tax management is also a very important part of the tool. So that when employers are using this digital process of HR, they can be rest assured that this particular area they don't need to bother much, they can focus on the business growth itself. Right, and we again, as they mentioned, the Great HR is one of the best HRMS platform we have been observing since last more than 20 years in the market. And again, we also see that sometimes the clients or companies can think, if I take the tool, how can I operate that? Because see, basically this tool is developed very nicely. However, if the companies find it difficult, there are partners who can help to process and manage the tool through the outsourcing model, outsourcing process like our company, right? So we definitely encourage companies to go for digitalization of HR process, one of the important side of the organization growth as well, and maintaining the transparent culture. Thank you.
Thank you. And while I was speaking last time, I missed out one story about training, that there was a saying, what if I spend money on training and they don't get trained or they don't be more effective? The other side of the story was, what if I don't spend and they stay with us? So that means that's a lesser or a reduced or a more dangerous situation when we have lesser trained or lesser effective people with us. So with that, I take an extension of what Ramakanji said. As a HR practitioner, so Ramakanji spoke about from a person who's driving technology in HR space. You, I and Mustafa ji are more on the other side of the table where we have been using these solutions. And for the benefit of others who are sitting and attending this discussion, I want you to share your experiences in terms of knowing what can be the advantages of an HRMS when you're using it. He has touched upon a lot of things, but I want you to say from a user perspective, because you are the one who would have used as an HR professional. You would have sold it to your managers that why we should invest money. You would have told what are the advantages and what is it that we should pick up. All those thoughts, if you can share with us and let us know.
When it comes to advantages of using HRMS for entire employee life cycle, one of the biggest advantage is that digitization helps you quickly retrieve the data as and when it is needed. That is first and foremost. Second thing is, if it is done by a human being against being done by a software, the second issue which is usually associated with humans is emotional part. Let's say I don't like somebody, then I'll try to ensure that that person is facing issues getting information, whereas if somebody is my friend, I might be biased towards that person in order to help him or her to get information at the fingertips. So this human bias is taken out of the equation. That is second part. And third part, which is very crucial for using those softwares, is identifying performance parameters which you want to track, which you want to store, and which you want to use as and when that is required. So data sanctity is very important, and when we talk about data sanctity, it's not only the quantitative data that we are looking at, but qualitative data is also important, which a lot many times is put on the back burner. So these are few things which are very critical and which are very useful from my perspective.
Now, if you want to add some more, you can. Doesn't mean if she comes, you have to stop. It's fine. You can continue.
No, it's okay, because what is important is looking at 2-3 manageable parameters which we can take away with, rather than talking about a lot of things which cannot be covered. So I would apply Pareto's rule here, where vital few are important, and looking at those vital fews is what can take things further. However, one important point which I would like to make here, many times we don't look at the cost of not having quality, or the cost of non-compliance, as somebody was pointing out in earlier session also. So if we are able to track that cost of non-compliance, maybe we will be able to use systems effectively. As an MSME, we always try to have a cost-benefit analysis, and when we do that cost-benefit analysis, it is imperative that we correlate it with cost of non-compliance from the perspective of impact on the business. So it can be cost of non-compliance from the perspective of training need identification. It can be cost of non-compliance from the perspective of purchasing the software. Whatever we are trying to do, we should try to look at quality parameters also, and not only the figures in rupees or dollars and things like that. I think that will add a lot of value to digital transformation.
Last point you touched upon, and that was very important, because compliance is which is getting much and more stricter now. A lot of data available. You have to follow different policies, you have to follow different rules, GDPRs of the world. You can't even click a picture like he is doing without asking him. I'll charge you. Okay? So those are the things which keep happening, and we have to be very careful and cautious about it. The kind of NDAs we have to sign, those are the things which are important when we do those things. So very well addressed, and summarizing it now. But before we summarize, leave the floor open for the questions. Anyone who has any questions? Ma'am, you have to still wait for a few minutes. We have questions. Right? Thank you. So any questions from anyone with these three? Yes,
Can you pass on the mic, please?
Mics to them, please. हम sacrifice करेंगे, no problem.
Hello, sir. So you mentioned about the training part, and as a senior, I come from the 90s kit. So you being a senior, we are working on a lot of ethics. the world is changing drastically right now. Past 5 years before, the things that were applied are not applicable right now. And what you have been teaching us, or my seniors who have taught me, are very relevant. What sir was trying to question it, but I did not get the clear answer on that. It's very difficult to manage with people who are not technically very sound, and the office politics that goes on, which is unsaid, which is, the while is underput. Things are not being said. Technology is fine, tools are fine, tools are good for utilization, but only a team works with people. And when a team is small, 5 years before I had 5 people working with me. That time I was good enough. But when, as the team increases and the quality of the product goes down, how do you manage to have that leverage of understanding that my quality is at its most best, and as well as the newcomers that are coming in, for example Gen Z that is being termed as, how do we train them or make them understand that what is being taught to us, or make things work on a manual level first and then integrate AI with it. And every day the news keep changing. From 45 hours to it's going to increase, as Narayan Murthy sir said. So it's just the last 2 days ago update, and the psychology keeps changing with people. So the new generation gives no F about it. Sorry for that, but sir, please.
Should I say it, or do you want to take over? Sir, we wanted you to ask a question, not
that's
deliver
what
a
I'm just trying
speech.
to, I'm so sorry for that, but
Yes.
that was the whole discussion that went through. I missed out on that, sorry.
Yeah. So just if you could repeat your
So,
question in one line.
The
Summarize
training
it.
part, what technology is being put into, and how do we go with the coming thing, and so that the quality does not go off. That was the overall question. It's the question is in splits, not just one question. Sorry for that. Again.
See, in your entire thing which you said, there are many aspects attached to it. It's just not related to training. Yes, training was definitely an aspect. What I said earlier, when the organization is small, like 15, 20 people, the proprietor has access to everybody, and he knows the idea, he knows the skills, he has everything, and he is doing the best. But when it grows, he can just not grow alone. He has to ensure that the people below also start taking those skills and start grow with him and take up those additional responsibility. And that's where the leadership skill comes of mine, and how I'm developing them. Whether I'm developing them, and today developing in terms of technical skill sets, or in terms of first the biggest thing is the attitude of the management that comes into picture. That office politics will remain anywhere in the country or in the world. Only thing is how you can minimize that part, because wherever humans are involved, that's the human politics is going to come into picture. The technology, which all the panelists said, technology and the transparency will reduce that biasness and thing. And in training, when it comes to for your training question, that training identification you need to first identify when we are growing. So today, if I am an executive HR, I'm going to become an assistant manager, or I'm a GM HR, I'm going to VP HR, who's going to come at my position? How I'm going to identify that people below, and after identifying them, how I'm nurturing them and doing their development. That's where today entrepreneurs have to play a crucial role in that. That I hope it's answering to major of your questions. So that is where we have to ensure that we use all whatever resources are available, whether technology, whether it's classroom training, or whatever it is. And that's where also the culture comes into picture. It is just not one aspect of training. What is the culture of the organization? What are they nurturing the talent? How are they nurturing the talent? The systems, the processes, everything comes into that picture. It summarizes everything, and that's where the organization becomes successful.
Oh,
Thank you, sir.
I hope that answered your question. Any more questions?
We can meet if you want anything.
Sorry, I think the question which he pointed out, I would like to just answer that in a different way. I am the author of book Step by Step Guide to Overcome Corporate Politics, and basically it talks about how we have to systematically handshake with our senior or junior rather than fighting. We every day talk about that you know somebody took credit of me, etc. But we never find out the systematic solution out of it. Everything is there in the organization, set up process, etc. But this question is very, very genuine in terms of, you know, how to manage people to people credibility or whatever we say. Somebody want promotion, he goes to an extreme level and then he do whatever. But there is a way when somebody joins the organization, what are the things, what are the process to be followed. So I have written there, we can discuss more. But you need to first understand the organization culture whenever you are joining any organization. Most of the times what is happening, somebody joins, he tries to showcase his talent, and that is where he gets, you know, backstabbed by many people, or seniors do not like that approach. So there is a process which should be followed systematically. If you follow that, then I guarantee these problems will be minimized a lot. It is everywhere, but this need to be minimized. So there is a way we can connect and we can discuss about it.
Alright, thank you so much, sir. Definitely, this book is going to be helpful for many. So, I think we can wrap up with the question answer round. Yes. So, thank you so much. A round of applause for our panelist and moderator. Yes, thank you so much for your valuable insights. Thank you. We won't let you go like that. We would like to felicitate you. So, to felicitate them, may I request Mr. Amit Patel, Senior VP from